Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, two blokes chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
Who have we got on the phone? Robert?
It's fishing time. John Didge regularly catches up with us. He's had a couple of weeks off to contemplate life without fishing, but I reckon he might be a bit excited with ScoMo's announcement yesterday. Didge, can you feel the little niggle on the line already?
Oh, there's a little bit going on.
Good.
There's just a little bit there. I'm just reeling from the fact that someone let Al McPherson go.
Yeah, I believe me, off air, I had a lot to say about that, John. I've been curtailed now that we're on air.
And the worst thing about the whole thing, John, was she just then wouldn't stop ringing me. It was just a constant barrage. Back in the days before mobile phones were a thing, so she just kept ringing home all the time. It was just embarrassing, to be perfectly frank with you.
You idiot. Didgy, what's been...
It's one of those things, though. As a bloke, you go to the pub, you see your mate, you hang out, and they go, "Oh, how's your girlfriend?" You go, "Good." You go, "Oh, who is she?" And they go, "Listen, she's referred to worldwide as the body."
Now, here's a piece of trivia for you, and we should talk about fishing in a moment, but back when she launched her lingerie line, there were big posters that went in windows and stuff. I am led to believe that shops were made to spend something like $1,500 per poster as a deposit, because if they didn't, they would kept on getting knocked off.
Yep.
And so
that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, so it was basically up to the shopkeeper. You can take as much stuff out of the shop as you like, just don't touch the poster. Anyway, back to fishing. You've come in there, hook, line and sinker. Thank you.
Oh, God, it's hard work. So, John, when we last spoke, everyone was understanding of what was needed to do, perhaps a bit grumpy. There might have been some sneaky after-hours stuff going on, but generally speaking, the fishing fraternity have probably behaved well, but are genuinely excited about the prospect of restarting.
Oh, listen, they are. I mean, I wouldn't get your hopes up too much, but genuinely excited about it. We've got to see, obviously, what happens, and as far as and I had this discussion with probably close to 100 people yesterday after ScoMo's announcement. Is it still comes down to a state decision. So it's a state-by-state decision. Although ScoMo's put it out there, it's still up to the states to enact it or to do their own plan. So we've got to either, hope that Dan Andrews gets out there and says, "Hey, listen, let's open her up on Monday," or he's going to do his own thing. So we don't really know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But either way, whichever way we look at it, it's getting a lot closer. And I hope they do the right thing when they do make it all happen again with all activities, just to make sure that everyone's safe.
John, if your organisation's put forward some proposals or thought about proposals to present to the government, say, right, why don't you open up under these restrictions to at least allow it to start? Have you thought through that?
Yeah, there's been a big thought process there, and what's interesting about this in brief is that we were the only state that banned fishing in Australia, and the other states allowed some form, whether it was to collect food 25 minutes from home in Queensland, non-use of boats. There was a variety of different activities in there, and I think that the key element here that we need to remember is that by Victoria completely shutting down golf as well and fishing, what they did was people that would partake in a small activity that would take up a little bit of their time all of a sudden were completely bored. So what they did was they started going to supermarkets and shops. So supermarkets and shops become inundated with a massive amount of people, hence passing the virus on. So, what they did in the rest of the country worked absolutely perfect. As far as us now, if we were to open fishing tomorrow in all forms and all activities without any restriction whatsoever, we would find the same as Florida found this week when they opened up recreational boating, and that was that there was a queue 15 kilometres long to get to the boat ramp. So we've got to be very cautious about how we do this, and peak bodies are putting out opportunities to open up land-based fishing first, and then slowly open up boat fishing to restrict the amount of people that you may have in a boat, so that's a social distancing thing. It all comes into play, and these are some of the options that have been put forward. So, the 2 points I'm trying to make there is that closing everything off altogether was a really bad move because it put too many people in one place at one time. and opening it all up again is going to do the same thing. So we've got to be cautious about what we do.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I think generally the Victorian government has done well, but they definitely didn't do this that well. And you spoke about it 3 weeks ago, John, just the mental health aspect of the requirement of people to, how important that walk around a golf course or sit in a tinny is just vital to one's general well-being. So they probably didn't think that through well enough. And then once they'd gone, they couldn't really put it in reverse, I suppose.
No, that's right. And what sort of hurt the most with this thing is that I do know a few people that are no longer with us. I wouldn't say it's directly driven by recreational fishing, but the fact that they had a social activity that released that pressure they were under did make a difference. And it's unfortunate, and this is the big thing with it, is that, the thing you love the most may be your fishing. You do it every day or every second day, whatever it might be. You've lost your fishing, you can't use your boat, then you've lost your job, then you can't get a payment from the government for 6 weeks, and so on and so on and so on. And it's that snowball effect. And that's what I was talking about 3 weeks ago. People don't realise just how something small like recreational fishing or playing golf can impact on your life.
And I guess one of the things that sits in my head, and the only thing I've ever caught in a fishing boat has been pneumonia. So I've never been a big one with a fishing rod in my hand. Until I realised you can actually do it on the land base with a can next to you. That improved it significantly. But I think, people scattered along a riverbank somewhere 5 metres apart. I've not been able to work out why that. I can see it in a boat, because by definition you can't sort of spread out too far in a boat. But it seems like a knee-jerk to me. That seemed to be the best word to respond to it. And the same with golf. As I said to someone the other day, in fact last week I think we were talking to Ross, and when I play golf I'm nowhere near the rest of them, primarily because I hit the ball into the wrong fairway. And I think, there's opportunities to spread out.
Yeah, well, there was a government cop out there, I think, by saying that people congregate in the car park afterwards. It was really simple. Stay at home unless it's essential. They could have just said, don't congregate in the car park or you'll be fined.
Yeah.
That's how simple it was. Don't congregate on the pier, you'll be fined. Don't launch your boat, you'll be fined. That's how simple it was, but they could have just left the sport of recreational fishing and playing golf still in place, along with a few other activities, which I found out swimming laps in a pool was banned.
Yeah, although I guess there's the question there about, if you sneeze in the water and all that kind of stuff. But to me, it just, it was interesting yesterday. I only heard a snippet of the conversation. I sort of tune out a bit when these sorts of things go on now. But I heard somebody talking about the fact that fishing and golf were two things that we really should start getting going again. So I reckon that's a bit of a pointed comment towards the state government here.
Yeah, I think it's going to roll out over the next week. Dan
Yep.
Andrews yesterday in his announcement was saying that he would make various announcements each day. He said they won't happen on the day of the announcement. So what I'm seeing is that he's likely to turn around and say that, he's going to allow small forms of recreational fishing activities within, 20 kilometres of your home, which is going to leave a lot of people out, but it's going to get it started again. And that's probably going to take place some stage over the next couple of weeks. I can't see it happening the day he says it, but I can see him putting a date on it, that's for sure.
And the interesting thing too, there was one of the other activities, I can't remember what it was, might have been just going for a drive, that you can't go more than 20 Ks or 50 Ks away from your home.
Yes, true.
How's that measured? Is it as the crow flies? Is it the distance you drive? Has there been any thought given to that? I know that sounds like a really silly question, but if I go to Torquay, it's 20 kilometres as the crow flies, but it takes me 35 Ks to get there.
Yeah, I think a friend of mine actually got and there's been a lot of fuss about it, a lot of stories about this, but the COVID-19 app, a friend of mine actually got a message saying that you've travelled more than 30 kilometres from your home. Is there a reason why? That came through the day after he signed up for the app. He decided to drive to Torquay to pick up some stuff. So,
now I can tell you that's actually a scam. That people have been scamming people by saying that and click on this.
The interesting thing about it was that I failed to put my name and address in the app. I just signed the app.
Yep.
I didn't put my name and address in the app. I just keep getting a message on a daily basis saying, finish filling out your personal details. And that probably happens 4 times a day. I get that message. He actually had all of his details in. And it was quite, I said to him, that's a scam, mate, that's going around. He goes, mate, it's in the app.
No,
it's an interesting one. And it'd have to be as the crow flies. It couldn't be. But, I saw a thing yesterday saying if you're a learner driver, you're not allowed to drive the car unless it's to collect an essential service. Otherwise you're not allowed to just go for a drive. So there's a lot of things going on, and some of it's crazy. But anyway, so the fishing thing, I think that the old fishing thing's going to fire back up, and it's at a time of year when the fishing's going to be quite slow, and I think people will get out there at the start and they'll have a fair crack. They won't catch too much, and they'll head back home. The diehards like myself will keep going, but there'll be a lot of people that the weather will drive them off the water until later in the year.
If you use plastics here, and you haven't been feeding the fish anyway, so they're not going to be hungry waiting for you to turn up. It's the fish that like worms. They're the ones that'll be really hungry.
Listen, we've gone through, the whole fishing side of things, we've gone through that winter change. Water temperatures have dropped quite dramatically. Can't tell you what they are. I guess they're around the 15-degree mark at the moment. Surface temperatures like this morning would be quite cold, be down around 12 or 13 degrees potentially. And what's going to happen is we've had our summer weed has died off. So that whole storyline as it goes in summertime, we had all that smoke, and that smoke prevented the water temperature from rising enough for the actual summer weed to get its growth and for the winter weed to die off. So what actually happened was that dimming effect caused a severe change within our weather. This is what we think anyway. So when the smoke cleared and the sun came out and we had those few 30-degree days, all of a sudden we had a massive amount of slimy weed dying off, which was that leftover winter weed. The summer weed started to gain growth, and then only for a few weeks, and then bang, it's gone again. So now we've got the whole Bellarine Peninsula and parts of Corio Bay are completely cluttered with dead grass. It's piled up. So the fish are going to be moving around and doing a few things. I think your flathead will be on the cards, your whiting will be on the cards still. Snapper are going to be out there in really, really good numbers, and I think we're still going to find a lot of those pinkies, but it's going to be harder than you think. And if you're not out in a boat, you're not going to experience that. Squid fishermen, not too sure. I reckon they'll still be okay, but what we have noticed is that the water clarity is absolutely amazing, and when people get out there, I think the experience is going to be just a little bit different to what they've ever felt before.
Well, we'll keep an eye on anything that comes out of the Premier's office this week, and if it is good news for you guys, we may get you back next week to see what the first few days have opened up.
Yep, no, beautiful. Get out there. Remember, keep it simple for the first time around. The fish are going to be hungry.
Good on you, mate. All the best. Thanks, Didge. Talk to you soon.
See you.
Thanks, John.